Welcome to another episode of the Master Within podcast. In today's episode, we are going to read the book Light of the Supreme Fulfiller by Dr. Buddhadev Chakraborty, translated from Bengali by Souvik Ghosh. Light of the Supreme Fulfiller, Purushottamer. Whenever the Supreme Fulfiller comes, he comes with a special purpose. He comes for the establishment of Dharma. Whenever the world faces degradation of being and becoming, we forget that Dharma is nothing but all those activities, behaviors and words which nourishes the being and becoming. When people imprison the Dharma in their shackles of wilted rituals and sense-pleasuring luxuries, then the Lord comes and shows humanity the real essence of Dharma through his own personality, actions, and life. He also exalts everyone to follow the existential or dharmic way of life. Purushottamer, the ideal or the best fulfiller, never comes for any singular sect or a specific country. His advent is for each and every individual of this planet. That is why whenever he comes, surrounding him develops a multitudinous circle of masses. His all-fulfilling character fulfills the inherent distinctiveness of people all over the world, irrespective of their caste, language, profession, etc. No one lies beyond his purview. The eternal discord and debates that we face between dharma and sects find an ultimate solution after being educated in the light of the ideal. We had a profound experience of this fact by coming in the company of the best fulfiller of this age, Sree Thakur Anukulchandra. No matter how many times have we read in the religious books that Dharma is one, there is no difference among the world religions. Dharma is manifested through the character of the ideal and so forth. But we would have never realized this truth in reality unless we have had the example of Sree Thakur Anukulchandra in front of us. The best fulfillers who come from time to time, like Sree Thakur, never rely upon mere philosophical precepts. Without indulging in unnecessary debates, such fulfillers present the essence of Dharma in a very normal manner through their day-to-day activities. And since seeing him, people understand that the essence of life and lift is actually inherent in the dharmic activities, they flock around him, being the lovers of existence themselves, irrespective of their caste, language, religion, nationality, etc. Nothing remains a barrier anymore. The urge to exist is inherent in all beings, so everyone agrees to this. That is why, when our lives are at stake, we move to take refuge in the personality who shows us the way towards liberation. We can have an idea about this after taking a look into the huge gathering of people that congregated around Sri Thakur Anukulchandra. After seeing such an extraordinary yet normal persona of Sri Thakur Anukulchandra, people became conscious of the true pursuit of human life. Through realizing the essence of the fact that humanity is the ultimate realization, people came under the banner of one ideal, overcoming all boundaries and differences. This is not a mere feat of words. The gravity of this matter can be understood only by seeing the unity, cooperation, and fraternity among all those people of different sects, language, religion, and nationality. This was only possible because they were magnetized by the radiance of the supreme humane qualities which continuously emanated from Sri Thakur's personality. The effect of his divine personality is equally effective today. We are still perceiving the world through his eyes of truth. Being soaked in his divine love, we are pursuing to create a global atmosphere of love. The speciality of the fulfiller the best, or Purushottam, is that through him everyone gets acquainted with his or her own true self. And it helps a person realize the fact that this self that he or she perceives within is also present inside every other person as their respective individuality. And this pervades the tiny barrier of unacquaintance. When the seed is expressed into a growing plant through the nourishment and nurture of soil, water, and atmosphere, its life becomes meaningful. Soon the sapling, through the manifestation of leaves, flowers, and fruits, reaches higher and higher levels of fulfillment. A similar expression happens in human beings after coming in contact with the Purushottam, the supreme fulfiller. The man soon becomes something that he apparently was not before. Soon, newer horizons of doing, becoming, and acquisition open up. In this pursuit, he fulfills himself. At the same time, exalts his environment with his showers of service. It is true that after receiving him, people get filled up with exuberance. But if the basic development is not there, that is, if one doesn't develop the necessary vision of identification, it becomes impossible to recognize the Purushottam who lives amidst all people like an ordinary man. As quoted from the direct words of the Purushottam himself, as the sparkle of a diamond which remains in coal and dirt can only be seen after thorough cleansing, so also he who lives in society as an ordinary man can illumine the world with his sparkle only by the washings of love. The lover alone can know him. Satyanusaran, the pursuit of truth. though humans are born with the love that the Lord desires for, due to various instincts, prejudices, sectarian pride, the conceit of knowledge, questions of ego, etc., the door of the source of love remains shut in him. The contamination befogs his vision, disallowing him to notice his ever-acquainted beloved. But fortunately, this distortion is not the end of all. Human is shaped in the image of God, and he has the full potential to declare war against his weakness, incapability, and desires of complexes. Once he does so, it becomes possible for him to overcome any difficulty, both inside and out. This go can evolve him into a superhuman. He can access the supreme consciousness. Purushottamer, or fulfiller the best, shows us this path, and Sree Thakur has done the same. Of countless events of his life, what comes to notice is that he is always eager about what is beneficial for others. This earnest desire for everyone's well-being opened up all the secrets of life in front of him. All the matters or lives that constitute a human being were explicitly expressed along with their cosmic significance in his all-encompassing vision. That is why no problem of life appeared as a momentary dispute to him. The origin of creation, destruction, past, The origin of creation, destruction, past, present, future, successive evolution of life, and everything with all their cause and effect was vivid to him at all times. Most of these mysteries are still unknown to us. There's a song saying, খেলিছো এ বিশ্বলয়ে বিরাট শিশু আনমনে খেলিছো. You are playing with the universe absent-mindedly like a colossal baby. This is the kind of feeling that arises after seeing Sree Thakur. By the way, this song, written by Kavi Nazrul, was one of Thakur's favorites. He is the master and the witness of this entire creation. Nothing can happen without his knowledge. Grammar and vocabulary are not enough to express his magnanimity. That is why we sing his glory in his own language. Hridoy joda srishti chhara, the conjoiner of hearts, yet the creation apart. Even after being all of this, even after being all of these, he still happens to be a human being, just like us. But every time, through a glimpse of the ginormous identity of his existence, we face a reality check. Sree Thakur wants to be our family. He wants to be a man of our home. But we often try to distance ourselves from him. We always find the opportunity to ignore him, thinking of the stark dissimilarities between us. Due to the lack of our own fortitudes, we don't take him simply as he is. We always try to constrain the infinite in the boundary of our measured perspectives. Still, even after all this, He never forsakes us. He is forever merciful with His indulgence. He untiringly nurtures the malnourished beings with His love and affectionate service. This is His blissful divine play. Even though we don't understand, He always remembers the fact that without Him, we won't survive at all. Even though we love ourselves the most, we still are not aware of the most intrinsic nature of the being that we actually are. But we can vividly perceive the reflection of that true nature when it is reflected through the mirror of the integral character of the Purushottamer. Then we can see ourselves in Him with all our inherent characteristics and expositions. Through our union with Him, we experience His infinitude in the purview of our limited knowledge. Through His grace, we feel the immensity that He is and turn ecstatically blissful. As if, like the successive unfoldment of 1,000-petaled lotus, we gradually uncover the deepest secret that's latent in us, who we actually are. That is why He is our sole co-traveler in this unknown path of life. Whether we realize this or not, but the truth is that we can't exist without Him, even for a single moment. You are listening to the Master Within podcast. This is a reading of the book Light of the Supreme Fulfiller, written by Dr. Buddhadev Chakraborty and translated from Bengali by Souvik Ghosh. Innumerable problems of human lives always kept Thakur anxious about them. People are born with problems. The moment a man takes birth from his mother's womb, he is faced with resistance all over. In all spheres of life, be it domestic, societal, political, economic problems of all sorts often dominate our lives. Not only that, sometimes such happens that the root of one problem is impregnated in another problem. Apparently, it may appear that all problems are unrelated and discrete. Exhaustive understanding of these complex phenomena is impossible unless we develop an intense urge towards the welfare of human totality. Along with that, we need indomitable compassion within and a first-hand experience with deeper layers of human existence. If we are not accustomed to all these, we fail to see what connects them all, and we make a futile effort to solve them after individualizing each problem, thinking of them as distinct and separate. Thus, we create more problems. It is common to see that irrespective of our good intentions, we fail to touch the root cause of the problem. Problems remain as they were, whereas we become more tired and distressed. In reality, the problems never stand still in one place. They mutate and become more complex with time. But this doesn't happen in the case of the all-perceiving Purushottam. In his omniscient perception, the root of the problem naturally appears distinctly in front of his eyes. So, his treatment cures the root of the problems. His fashion of problem solving may often seem as if the solution he gives can't be the one to the problem at hand. But that is merely the perception of our limited thought process. Many times, the solution that he gives stays at the hindsight of our knowledge. But once the problem is solved, we realize that he is ever accurate. This truth has been proven multiple times throughout his eventful life. I think just one example would be enough for our understanding of the matter here. This event is excerpted from a discourse of Thakur recorded in Alochana Prasange, Volume 3. Their day was 3rd December 1941 when Sree Thakur was at Pabna. At a time when many revolts and movements were taking place in the then colonized India, the sole question that stirred up the minds of the freedom fighters, politicians of the time was how to liberate India. Slogans like Bharat Chodo, Leave India, Angrez Hatao, Remove British were everywhere. And Pabna was not an exception to this. But even at such a tumultuous time, an ambrosial community had developed around Sree Thakur. It almost seemed as if his organization had nothing to do with the Indian freedom movement. People from all sects, nationalities, and communities had gathered there like one big family. Their hearts were drenched in nectar and bliss in the company of the divine character of Sree Thakur. Every day and night, through several innovative activities, projects, and newer avenues of service invented by Sree Thakur, people were living with an intoxicated involvement. People there realized the true essence of being human. Just like Rabindranath Tagore said, "Hethay shobare hobe milibare," at this place where everyone meets. These words of the poet became a reality in the Himayatpur ashram of Pabna. Knowing about Sree Thakur, two queer men, workers of the then Congress party, came from Nodia district to visit the place. Thakur welcomed them with a heartwarming embrace. They raised an important question to Sree Thakur. An excerpt of that historic conversation is presented. A congressman asked, "May we ask some questions, Thakur?" Sree Thakur: "Sure." Congressman: "Is it possible to do any societal good in a colonized country? No matter what we do, they fail to give positive results. The first objective of a colonized state should be to aim for an independent nation." Sree Thakur: "Freedom from the shackles of bondage is indeed very necessary." Congressman: "Then why are you people so much devoted to such dharmic activities here?" Sree Thakur: I am also curious whether there's any other way for our liberation other than through the dharmic movement. Have you given a thought about why and how we lost our independence in the first place? Congressman, through the conspiracies of the colonizers. Sree Thakur, had there been any conspiracy by the colonizers, how did it turn out to be such a success? Why couldn't we dodge it? Congressman, there was a lack of unity among us. Sree Thakur, why was there a lack of unity? Congressman, individual self-interest became the only importance for everyone. Sree Thakur, and why did that happen? Congressman, this happened due to the weakness of our national character. Sree Thakur, then you are convinced saying that the lack of national character is the cause of our bondage. Now, if we don't obliterate this cause of the problem, will the illness cure? Here comes the need for dharma, ideal and culture, Krishna. Human weakness means passionateness or complex centricity. People can't get away from the hands of these complexes and passions if they are not directed towards superior ideal and culture. That is why there is a culture of taking initiation from the Acharya, master, and the adjustment of one's life in accordance with it. Acharya or master is the person who realized the law of being and becoming and materialized the same in his own life. Dharma refers to those practices which keep our being intact and uphold our eternal becoming. Dharma refers to those practices which keep our being intact and uphold our eternal becoming. From this discourse, it is evident how far-sighted the vision of Purushottamer is. We get a better understanding of the truth that he said when we look at the state of our country today. The political independence of independent India that was made possible at the expense of dividing it into regional divisions. Is it proper independence? Or how much well-being and happiness has it provided us? Is a matter of argument. The socio-political problem that arose in those days and the dream of an independent India for which people had no limits of toil and sacrifice had their causal roots embedded in the lack of national character. Even though it skipped the eyes of the then political leaders, it never left the purview of the vision of Purushottamer. Not only that, it is now very clear that the true meaning of an independent nation was not clear in the minds of the leaders. That is why, even if the Britishers left India so many years ago, we still are not entirely independent. When Sree Thakur was asked about the true meaning of independence or freedom, he answered, "Man gets true freedom when his surroundings cannot degrade him by wearing and tearing his being through the enticement of his complexes and passions anymore. Rather, his ideal-centric complexes elevate his environment through his serviceable dealings that exalt others in the path of being and becoming. then he becomes the common interest of his surroundings. Then he is truly free or independent. From Nana Prashungi. Sri Thakur knew the essence of true freedom. That is why he was able to organize a social movement that exalted so many in the path of existential uplift. Since the vibrations of everyone's being reverberate in the being of the Supreme Fulfiller, that is, the Purushottamer, all of his solutions keep the well-being of every individual into consideration. He is auto-initiatively driven to attend to everyone's problems because everyone's pains pang in his heart. He is auto-initiatively driven to attend to everyone's problems because everyone's pains pang in his heart. He never seeks to create a momentary sense of wonder among the people, but many ephemeral sense-gratifying people fail to realize the significance of his divine endeavor. People don't understand him, but this never stops him from doing what he has to. As the mighty sun rises in the east and is actively beaming his gracious light all over us, without caring about whether people are sleeping or have closed windows, similarly, the divine Purushottam is ever abundant in his existential resourcefulness through his incessant blissful play all the time. Those who take the advantage of this eternal resource can even overcome death. That is why, above all, the most important thing is our own will. In the words of Sri Thakur himself, if you want to experience the things present here, you have to attach yourself to it and study thoroughly. The more attached you become to this, the faster you will unfold its mysteries. From Omyobani, page 79. Even if people are indifferent towards him, he is never disinterested in them. Eternal knocks of his compassionate service are always audible at the doors of every individual. Eternal knocks of his compassionate service are always audible at the doors of every individual. We cannot understand the universality of true love. It remains unfathomable unless we see the personality of Sri Thakur. This is a characteristic trait of Purushottam. This is a characteristic trait of Purushottamer. Throughout the world, there is discord in the name of what's mine and what's yours. But he is above all these facades. People tend to forget the outsiders in the presence of their kins, or some deprive their own family in the lieu of attending to others. But this barricade of family and outsiders is eradicated in the enlightened experience of the Purushottam. Unless we don't cannot see this walking, talking, humane manifestation of the universal figure, it is impossible for us to fathom this feature. In an effort to love others, people create narrow boundaries around themselves and denigrate their love. Such so-called acts of love fail to bring well-being to anyone. To drench in the true love and to realize the magnanimity of love, we need a concentric adherence to the love Lord Purushottam and his divine company. Since he is bound to everyone's self-interest, the flow of his love never gets in the way of any mutual discord. The term stranger or unrelated is absent in his dictionary. A devotee once said, "There is no place outside the gate of Sree Thakur. The whole earth lies inside his gate." This is very true. Through the entire life of Sree Thakur, this was evident. The way he cares for his own son, the same care he showers on another's as well. It happens many times that those whom we call our own are kins by mere words. We fail to express our required affectionate behavior. This never happens in his case. His easy way of being is auto-initiatively affectionate and filled with utmost care and love for them as well. This compassionate affection is visible through his joy, tension, worries, and through all other expressions in a very normal exposition. সর্বভূতে বীজ আমি শুনো পার্থ তাই, আমি ভিন্ন চরাচরে আর কিছু নাই. Listen, O Parth, I am the seed in everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe except me that persists. Such a statement can be made only by the Purushottam himself. Such a statement can be made only by the Purushottam himself. His yearning is not only for the people of contemporary times. His presence pervades the limitations of space and time. He is one. He is omnipresent and ever firm. He experiences the anxious yearnings of all future generations to come, because he exists being everything that exists. That is why, for the sake of humanity, he gives us his eternal maxims. His Punnaputhi, the holy book, Satyanusaran, the pursuit of truth, Cholar Shathi, Pother Kori, Shashwati, Shumbiti, Anushruti volumes, etc. are preserved for eternity. They will emanate his radiance all over the world. His maxims are not like those of ordinary people, so they are called manifested Vedas, knowledge. It is a characteristic of Purushottam that he never speaks of anything that doesn't originate in his understanding of his own actions. He says what he does. Sree Thakur was heard saying, "All knowing lies within me like the unknown." We see in his maxim, "Jana অজানা সমান তোমার বিজ্ঞই তোমার সত্তা." Knowing or unknowing is the same for you. Knowledge is your being. His cries, pains caused by various problems create reverberations in his being. The path of redemption of humanity that lies open in his vision unquestionably then takes shape through him in form of verses in different languages. The path of redemption of humanity that lies open in his vision unquestionably then takes shape through him in form of verses in different languages. He is the fulfiller of distinctiveness. So, the same truth has taken shape in different styles according to the inherent tendencies of the diverse population of the planet. This way, the world has received a marvelous work of literature through him. The verses of his maxims not only constitute the roadmap of eternal liberation, but are also unique pieces of art in terms of their literary magnificence. They represent a standard. They represent a standard measure of criteria necessary for every existential literature. Whether in terms of their meaning, expressions, consonants, or expositions, they are unparalleled in the world. Due to the impulses of winds, waves are formed in the vast bosom of the calm ocean. As the intensity of the winds, so are the nature of the waves. The same can be said when Sree Thakur utters a verse. As the environment gave him impetus, his utterances were like his response in resonance to them. Since his environment was boundless, sometimes it was very hard to emulate their contexts. Who knows whose life impetus resonated with his being? Who knows which pain panged his heart at which given moment? And these impulses found their expressions in his eternal sayings, like the musings of sonorous rhymes carved out of a perfectly tuned instrument. But it is he who is the ultimate goal of human life, not his maxims. His verses are the extracts of his life. It is his way of life. It is his way of life that is the path of humanity. So, it is our duty to understand his maxims in the context of his life as well, and move accordingly. If not, then often the importance of creation tends to surpass its creator. Then starts the distortions and misinterpretations of his holy sayings. He stays awake in our consciousness through our active sadhana, active pursuit. We experience his eternal company through the holy name and meditation. We will stray adherently enthusiastic in the pursuit of fulfilling his divine will. All the time, let his maxims manifest this way in our character. So, not only his maxims, but we need to feel the touch of his integral personality in every petal of our hearts. This touch will fulfill us with unity, fraternity, prosperity, patience, and eternal energy. By realizing his divine play in everyone, our union would be more and more meaningful. By realizing his divine play in everyone, our union would be more and more meaningful. In our congregated, concordant voice, his glory will resonate. The light of Purushottam obliterates the darkness of death. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Master Within podcast. You can follow us on Spotify or on any other platform. We are also available on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much. Until next time.